Hello and welcome to another episode of Scott Reads Comics. Today I have an interesting comparison between DC's Who's Who and Marvel's Official Handbook of the Marvel Universe, the original edition. The Official Handbook of the Marvel Universe, I believe, came out before, 5 years before this initial run of Who's Who came out. This was the trendsetter, the Marvel Who's Who. This was actually, for me, the first handbook I bought off the rack as a kid was this issue, number 8. And I've since recovered it from a dollar bin. And they later did, which I will probably cover later on the show, a deluxe version of the Official Handbook of the Marvel Universe with better graphics, more artwork, bigger font, all those sorts of things that would improve on a series like this. And they settled on a more standard format for the entries, including the notation of strength level for every character, which in Marvel was kind of important. They codified strength levels of characters much more assiduously than DC did. And you'll see as I compare these two, they're both a lot of fun. They're both really cool, but DC's take on a handbook is a lot looser than Marvel's, and both are very cool, and I love both of them. And I would say that both are readily available in dollar bins if you want them, and including the deluxe and the original Official Handbook of the Marvel Universe. You can complete runs of these titles in the dollar bins, which is great. This issue of Who's Who is number 23, noted here in Roman numerals, and this is, of course, Official Handbook of the Marvel Universe number 8. This one published in 1983, actually, and this one in 87. Both feature cool wraparound covers and done by great artists. This one, Ed Hannigan for Marvel, and Joe Staton for the DC one. And what's kind of cool about the subtle differences between the two. In the Official Handbook, all the characters are kind of moving off camera toward one goal. Villain, hero, doesn't matter. Neutral, doesn't matter. But in the Who's Who, what's neat about their take on the wraparound cover is the characters, in some cases, are interacting with each other, which is kind of neat. Here we have the sorceress Tala blasting the sorcerer Tanarak, and their blasts are kind of meeting in the middle. Here we have Deathstroke the Terminator. Looks like he's shooting, and the All-Star Squadron member Tarantula in his really cool brown and black costume is reacting to that. Thunder and Lightning, two of my favorite Teen Titans villains slash associates, are charging Terra, the ill-fated Teen Titan. And I'm not sure here, but maybe the Thinker is kind of trying to use his power on Tellus, the Legion of Superheroes telepath character. So some very cool interactions going on, some neat colors, nice wraparound. These wraparound covers were done by different artists throughout the series. And I think this first edition of the Official Handbook, it was all Ed Hannigan, who's a very accomplished cover artist for both Marvel and DC and cover designer. He did all these covers for the original handbook run, and then it was, I believe, John Byrne, and then he left in the middle of the assignment for the deluxe edition, and Ron Frenz, I think, took over and finished it, doing admirable work there. So we'll look at a couple of these entries just to kind of note the difference for the fun of the comparison. Opening this one up, the Who's Who, Volume 23, we can see that when they have an entry, they kind of do they do a figure, so you get a good idea of what the character looks like. And then they have the artist assigned to it does kind of a monochromatic sort of montage sequence of the character in action or in some kind of pose, or in this case, we get a kind of a floating head shot of this character, Cyrene. And they give you alter ego, occupation, marital status, known relatives, group affiliation, base of operations, first appearance, height and weight, eye color and hair color. And I always think the weights on these female characters are just hilarious. And just like Cyrene, her weight is 123 pounds. So I guess they couldn't round down to 120 or round up to 125. And the weights are a little unrealistic for normal folks, but I guess they are superheroes. So here's Tala, who I mentioned on the cover. She would later be a character that would show up animated in the second season of Justice League Unlimited as a love interest to Gorilla Grodd, among other people. Cool character, very well done in that animated show. And I didn't know this, but she originally appeared in Phantom Stranger #4 when he had his own title way back when. And an artist who I'm not familiar with, Henry Bismuth, did this piece, and it's very cool. Let's page through and look at a few others here. Tamaran, which is the planet from New Teen Titans character Starfire, her homeworld, featured here. And Chuck Patton, one of the artists who succeeded George Perez on the Titans regular title, he does the art for this and does a really great job. Chuck Patton is just a super solid artist, did so much great work for DC. There's Tanarak from the cover, who I mentioned, another Phantom Stranger villain. And he first appeared in #10. This art's by classic DC artist Jim Aparo. In my mind, Jim Aparo is to DC what Sal Buscema it was to Marvel. They were just both very long-standing artists who did so much great work for both companies, respectively. Just paging through some more here. We see, this character Taz, who was from the Atari Force comic, which also you can find in dollar bins if you're ever looking for a fun sci-fi read. That's a good one. This is by cover artist Ed Hannigan, and longtime Marvel artist Don Heck must have done the inking on this. And it's a very cool montage sequence of Taz's background. Nice. Great double page spread here from New Teen Titans artist George Perez. And we can see all the members past and present of the Titans up to this point in 1987. Really beautiful. Perez just excelled at these sorts of group shots, and great poster artist, great cover artist, in addition to being a dynamite and unparalleled sequential artist too. And the level of detail he puts in these characters is astonishing. And Titans Tower, kind of like what Elliot R. Brown, which I'll talk about in the Marvel Handbook in a minute, did with their diagrams of bases and structures. DC does a nice job here, and it's very cool. As a gamer, as someone who likes superhero RPGs, tabletop RPGs, this kind of thing would have been invaluable to me at that time, because, or even now, if I'm going to run a game and there's going to be a conflict in Titan's Tower, this is going to give me an idea of how to describe it to my players, or if I'm drawing up a battle map, how to draw that map up. And so this is a really great resource, and beautifully drawn by Arn Starr. Tellus, one of my favorite Legionnaires. Awesome artwork by Steve Lytle. Rest in peace, Steve. Tempest, a character from the second iteration of the Doom Patrol, which was drawn by Joe Staton, and then this piece is by Joe Staton. And DC tried to do that in this volume. They tried to match up characters with creators who had worked on them in the actual comics. And Marvel does it too in the official handbook. And here's Deathstroke, the Terminator. And just as a kind of a comparison, because I'm going to quickly switch here to the taking a look at some pages of the official handbook of the Marvel Universe. We have, I'm going to read Terminator's powers, because the way they write powers is a little different than the official handbook. It's like I said, it's looser. The Terminator is capable of using 90% of his brain capacity, making him a master tactician. The same experiment that gave him this extra brain power also gave him heightened strength, agility, stamina, and reflexes. As an ex-soldier, he He has years of combat experience, both barehanded and with all kinds of weaponry. He carries with him a small arsenal of weapons, including a sword, explosive grenades, daggers, a revolver, and a power battle staff. His mask contains specialized targeting equipment, and he has other specialized weaponry available at his Manhattan townhouse, which functions as his command post and a vast computer network of information. Art by George Perez, phenomenal art by George Perez. So there we have, you kind of know what his power set is from reading this, but there are no specifics. So here we open up the official handbook of the Marvel Universe, and we can see, obviously, too, this is tragically small type. So bear with me if I'm reading one of these and I struggle a little bit. I might have to get down a little close to it. Okay, so let's read Nomad's power entry. And again, you're going to get the same information, basically. Name, occupation, whether his identity is known or secret, legal status, former aliases, place of birth, marital status, known relatives, group affiliation, base of operations, first appearance. Some of the information repeats, some of it's a little different. So yeah, and there's, notice too, there's just a figure in this edition of the official handbook. It's just a figure. There's not much additional artwork. Here we get a little bit with Nitro, him exploding, but they would change that in the deluxe handbook, which I'll talk about in another show. So let's read Nitro's powers. Nomad's powers. Nomad possesses no superhuman physical powers, but the super soldier serum has heightened his physical form to the pinnacle of human perfection. Nomad has greater athletic strength, speed, and endurance than an Olympic decathlon contestant. With great effort, he can lift press 500 pounds. He can run at a maximum speed of 27.2 miles per hour for a period of 2 hours. His reaction times are almost 4 times that of a normal man's. He has several times the endurance of a normal human being, since one of the effects of the super soldier serum is to augment the reduction of fatigue, producing lactic acid in muscle tissue. Although he has natural fighting ability, Nomad has not had the extensive training in unarmed combat that the original super soldier Captain America has had. Still, Nomad is a capable combatant whose skills will increase with experience. Number one, right off the bat, they start out by saying Nomad has no superhuman powers. He, in fact, does have superhuman powers. Anyone who can do the things that they have just described in here, for instance, running at 27.2 miles an hour for 2 hours, that is superhuman. But I'm nitpicking. You can see just the heightened level of detail in this entry versus the entry for the Terminator. So there were different philosophies, and both worked, and both were cool. Nova by John Byrne. Again, we have a creator who created Nova, actually being responsible for doing her entry. Same with North Star, Alpha Flight character. Incredible Odin here. This one may be Ron Friends. Let me quickly check back. They don't note the artist in the entry, but they note it in the front matter here. So Odin, no, that is actually, fooled me. That is Walt Simonson. Yeah, very tightly inked Walt Simonson, I would say. I think there was one inker for all of these pieces. Let me see if I can deduce that from... No, they're listed as penciler and inker, so... Walt just did a very tight, on-brand, almost Buscema-like, or Friends-like Odin there. Very nice. The floating heads, you gotta love them. Orca, incredible villain. Overmind, another visually stunning villain. Kirby creation. So these smaller entries in the deluxe handbook, they would change over time, so that everyone basically got a one-page entry, or they would include some smaller entries for whole teams, like the UFOs, who were sometime opponents of the Hulk. Great character, Paladin. Initially appeared in Daredevil. Very iconic cover that he originally appeared in. Who does the art for this Paladin? Bob Wyacek. Okay, so Bob Wycheck does the pencils and inks. It's really cool because you don't really get to see Bob Wycheck pencil very much in the Marvel, because he mainly worked for Marvel and he was mainly an inker. So it's cool to see. Most inkers are very accomplished pencilers, so it's cool to see them actually have a chance to show that. This is a great owl. Before Wolverine, the owl had his talons. So who draws that owl? That's a nice one. That's John Romita Sr., classic. Fantastic owl. Plunderer, Pluto. I wonder if that's Simonson as well. No, yeah, it is Simonson. So Pluto can lift press 70 tons. As a kid, I had all of these strength levels memorized. And as an adult, so many years later, I have retained a disturbing number of those figures in my brain, whereas important information often eludes me. I can tell you the strength level in tons of many Marvel characters. So it's kind of funny. Power Man, he can lift press 3 tons. Has a host of other powers of resistance. He's tough as they come. That's a great Polaris. That almost looks like a Dave Cockrum. Let me see that. Bob McLeod. Okay, Bob. I like the little crackle there around showing her power effect. And that is a cool costume. I'm not sure if that was a costume designed by Cockrum or it looks like a Cockrum costume design. But I'm not sure. Don't know for certain. Professor X, kind of an extensive entry on him. A lot of words there, very dense. And you can see in the Deluxe Handbook, Professor X gets many pages for his entry. Okay, so here we have another cool cutaway. This one is of Project Pegasus. So just comparing it to, say, Titan's Tower, we can get a feel that, they both do the job. Oh yeah, that was under Teen Titans. Let me go back. Going the wrong way here. So both books give us what we need here. We can see the interior of the base or the structure in question. We get some background on it, and we kind of know the environs now when the stories are being told. Or if you're like me and you're a tabletop gamer or a writer and you want to set something in either of these places, well, you have a pretty good idea where to set your action. And if you were a writer who was trying to break in at the time, these little details can actually really help you build a script if you're working on it, or a plot if you're working on it, and be accurate, in-universe accurate. Puck, one of my favorite characters as a kid, totally visually awesome. Just a really cool character. 3'6", 225 pounds. It says here he can lift press 500 pounds. So he is as fit as a 6 foot male, even though he suffers from dwarfism. And really also, they say he has no powers, but he has powers. He can bowl over a crowd by cartwheeling into them. He's preternaturally agile and strong for his size. Great Psycho Man there too. Awesome FF villain. This is definitely a Frank Miller Punisher, and very cool. Very cool. Puppet Master, classic FF villain. Ends with Purple Man and Pyro. So Marvel has all these alien races, and so they would do this segment at the end of the first handbook run where they give you the backgrounds and powers and appearances of the aliens, the various alien races. And of course they go in alphabetical order through each issue. So I'll put this aside here and revisit our flip through of the Who's Who. A couple more characters I'll touch on. Tara, drawn by George Perez here. Interesting Perez panel on her. And we can see her using her earth-shaping powers here, and of course here in the foreground. and her brother Geoforce, and then her and her kind of wicked alter ego as the betrayer of the Titans. Very sad story, very powerful story. The Judas Contract, the four-part story, which ran through the Titans. And Terra joined them only to betray them and was working with Deathstroke the Terminator at the time, that we've already talked about today. This is a funky trio here, the Terrible Trio. They first appeared in Detective Comics 253, art by Terry Beatty. Little entry on Thanagar, the planet where Hawkman and Hawkgirl are from. Tharok, awesome, awesome, awesome. Fatal 5 leader and Legion villain. Half man, half cyborg. Great art by Mark Bright and Carl Kessel. You do not see Doc Bright do a lot of work for DC. He was like more of a Marvel guy, so it's great to see these guys come over and get some work on this series, and we'll see that as we visit more of these issues in the future. The incredible, incomparable Jose Luis Garcia Lopez doing Thea, one of the, I believe one of the Titans. Goddess and president of Sun Publishing. Oh, okay. So she's must be from the Marvel title. Interesting. Okay. So then we have the Thinker. He met his end, rather grisly end, and in Doom Patrol Suicide Squad Special #1, which I'm going to cover on this series. I'm going to cover the whole Suicide Squad run, spoiler alert, in order. So that'll be happening at some point in the near future. Thunder and Lightning, pair of great Titans villains / allies. They later become allies. And again, art by Keith Pollard. Bob Smith, the inker, but Keith Pollard was a long-time Marvel artist and coming over to DC to do a little bit of work on the side here, and they look great. Keith Pollard also did, I believe he did the issue that featured their second appearance, Teen Titans 36. Perez, I think, drew their first appearance, which was Teen Titans 32, New Teen Titans. Tiger, a All-Star Squadron World War II character, Frank McLaughlin artwork. Ty Gore, an Omega Man, and Todd Smith was the regular artist for that title. This is him in a newer uniform that I'm not as familiar with. Cool montage there with him transforming into a tiger. Timberwolf, really cool costume here. And again, Steve Lytle, rest in peace, Steve. Great artwork here. Timberwolf, one of my favorite Legionnaires. Buddy of Block and sometime member of the Legion Espionage Squad. Very cool. And ending with the Time Trapper here, who was drawn by Keith Giffen in his latter style. He's almost like his Legion 5 years later style. So there you have it. That's a quick look at the Who's Who and official handbook of the Marvel Universe. The two main companies from the Bronze Age, how their different takes on handbooks of characters looked at the time. This is 87, this is 83. We'll do more of these in the future. I just thought it'd be fun to take a quick look at them and do a quick side-by-side. I hope you enjoyed it. Like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.